Business is all about creating meaning in life. So we have to talk about that seriously. And if we talk about meaning of life, you are in the range of philosophy. Do we know that we live in a narrative? Well, this is the start of our narrative, of course. Did you know that you are living in a narrative designed by somebody else than you? You start your narrative with copying your mother or father. And this is the whole secret of life. We building together an interaction. The baby doesn't exist in itself. It looks for existence by connecting with the look of the mother. And then together they have this space which is invisible. The whole thing is, the real matters, ladies and gentlemen, is invisible. And we focus on visibility. So that's the first system error of the narrative you are living in. You always focus on facts. Believe me, they don't exist. But you're still asking KPIs and operational results and whatever. Can you prove this and prove that? Nonsense. We know it from physics, we know it from philosophy. There are no facts. You can create any facts with any new narrative. Because the narrative, like the child, will make us see in the way the parents want us to see. If I ask you, what do you think normally? What do you say normally? I have a body? Or would you say, I am a body? Who would say, I am a rational agent? Who would say, my personality is in my thinking? So that's the majority. Sorry to say, you're living in the 16th century. We have to get you out of the 16th century thinking to get more diversity in your thinking. Because you're thinking always the same thing. You didn't know that because we academics, a lot of business schools people, we are educated with the narrative that you can think. I have to disappoint you today. This is a very sad moment, but also very important for the next future of Turkey as the leader in the Near East development. You cannot think till now. I have to explain this because this is a blow, of course. Well, you saw this father and the child. You will mimic all the things that you've had from your parents. Even the way you are sitting now, or you're looking at me, is the way your grandparents were sitting and looking at their professors. If you go back to your school, you had a lot of assumptions in your school time which were horrible. If you're sitting here in the classroom and you're sitting with the backs to everybody behind you, the assumption is you don't matter because I'm sitting with my back to you. The only person that matters is the teacher who is speaking to you. The second assumption is when you finished your work, you ask the teacher, Master, is it okay? So you need somebody else to judge your work. Some people still do it when they are 50, 60. Is it okay? So this is a really wrong assumption. And you know, because you are successful in business, that the secret of business is knowing to judge yourself. Did I deliver good stuff or bad stuff? But that we learn at school not to judge ourselves. Women, I have a lot of female students in the University of Amsterdam. We did Socratic Design Lab. And then I asked them, which is the secret question you didn't dare to ask? Because we do Socratic dialogue to open the minds of people. And the women, all perfectly educated, close to their final exam, perfectly in their intelligence. You know what's their secret question? Why do I have no self-confidence? You realize this, eh? So I discovered, by doing this Socratic design, we have a very simple business plan in these societies, industrial societies. We give a boy an overdose of confidence. Go on. Oh, your clothes are dirty? Great. You have wounds? Great. And the girl, you say all the day, behave well, act nice, smile to me. And the assumption under this acting is, you're not nice, you're not beautiful because you have to act beautiful, etc., etc., etc. So this is then a lack of confidence. So I helped a lot of student girls to bluff themselves into confidence, because that is what men do. Men don't have confidence, but they act as if they have confidence, and then you will get self-confidence. So this is an assumption of our culture, but we have more assumptions, like male exists, the concept of male, and the concept of women exist. And then we can talk about all sorts of elements. The most horrible experience was when they asked men and girls throw a ball like a girl. Do you remember that experiment? Then the girls were like throwing like, and the boys like bum. What was the secret in this assumption? Girls don't dare to use the space. Men are used to use all the space, and even more. Then you have this cultural assumption we have to get rid of. So that is the diversity in our thinking. And to do this, we cannot just think, because I told you, you cannot think because you're still in the 16th century. Why is that? Well, David Bohm, who also is a philosopher and a physicist, discovered something very interesting about our neurological system. You think you have a brain that is operating, and your body is sort of machine, and you have a sort of software, and the brain is the hardware, and it produces algorithm and bum, bum, bum. It is not true. You think with your body. You think with your body because your neural system is all around your body. You have 200 billion neurons and more synapses, and we know, thanks to technology, how this works. And how does it work? Go back to evolution. A tiger approaches you in the savannah. He will kill you, so you run. What if the next tiger comes? The system say directly, this is a tiger, run. What if your system would say, go and reflect? This is brown, it's a little bit hairy, it runs very fast. What should it be? So, reflection is not in our system. You know what is in our system? Addictive thoughts. This is a concept with which you can create a lot of diversity. Addictive thoughts. You can look, you know your man in your environment or your colleagues. What are their addictive thoughts? When somebody says, for instance, I always say, and then something comes, I always say, first look at the facts. I always say, first go into the causes. When you have this sort of thoughts, you have a necessity. And a necessity will block you from thinking. But it gives you the impression of thinking. How is that possible? You always think that everything is against you. Or you always think that you never are doing enough. Or you always are thinking, I'm not good enough. This can be addictive thought. And then when you think it, it's not really thinking, it's an addictive thought, and it gives you, that's the secret, gives you dopamine. So you get thinking again, dopamine. You think about men are cruel, dopamine, and you repeat it, and you feel very nice, because dopamine is free cocaine. So you feel very nice, so you have the impression, I am really thinking. This is the drama of our narrative. And when you are an academic, like I did 2 studies in university, you are surrounded by addictive people. They are addictive to the same models over and over again. If you have a professor in low physics, he will say always the same, and the professor in nuclear physics also. A business school, igual, the same. The business school will repeat his mantras. And then you don't understand as a student, you will fail. If you accept the addictive thoughts, you will proceed. Where can they start? They can start in your childhood, like the girl being forced to act good, listen to everybody, be nice to everybody, or seeing the mother taking care of everything. When there is a conflict, the mother will say, no, have a cookies, be nice. She will copy this behavior. It will be addictive in your system. So how can you innovate? I was in Barcelona, and there was a lot of innovative people. They didn't know that Thomas Hobbes was in their head. Probably it's also in your head. So who is Thomas Hobbes? Anybody has a clue? Do you think that people are egoists? A lot of people. Yeah. You say no. There's one people who believes in Thomas Rousseau. Most people believe that people are egoists. So we are building systems, technological systems. We're building governmental systems. We're building educational systems on the assumption man is an egoist. And then people will act like it. So they will say to you, we need police, otherwise you will kill one another. You will bite your throat off. And you will believe it. But we know, thanks to other philosophers and old knowledge, very old knowledge, we know that people are social creatures, want to stick in collective intelligence and want to be collective. So that's a change. Sometimes we can innovate with old knowledge, but we have to get rid of our addictive thoughts. Also, to get things worse, we have addictive feelings. So we feel, sometimes people say, I feel this, so it must be true. This is the same. Most feelings started 20 years ago, and you repeat it all the time because it is addictive. And to make it even worse, bad feelings, bad experiences are as addictive as positive one, because the neural system doesn't say this is a bad or a good experience. So when a child has experienced a traumatic one, it will be addicted to this. And now comes the secret. How can we survive? Because we transform the pain into something, theater, a tower. So when I was bullied at school, always, every day, that was one boy told me, a lawyer in Amsterdam. This was a daily fear. He transferred into being nice to everybody. And when he was 27, successful lawyer, he ended in a burnout because he always said yes to everybody. So basically, we are babies in a big body. You see what I mean? So better try to be into your narrative, find out where I started it, and how do I act still as a baby. And for women, it's very important because our society gave women really a narrative that is not very productive for yourself. Yeah? And then they struggle. But it's very difficult because the men keep on going in the male narrative, and some women keep on going in the women narrative. So to go out of this addiction, we need something, and we discovered how. So we had discovered the art of listening and Socratic dialogue. How can we come to a new narrative? Well, we did a lab with Women Tech, the board, a few weeks ago, and we tried one new, you can say, purpose. But the most important thing is the people there experienced a new intelligence. So if you go into the art of listening instead of discussing, you will have thoughts of other people in your mind. And basically you resist it because you're addictive to your own. If I force you to repeat what I've said, for instance, a lot of people will not accept it, so they will not get it in their minds. If I would force you to repeat what I've said, it would hurt some bodily aspects of you. That you can see how the addictive system works. But if I can get you into a dialogue where together we listen profoundly, you know, two things happen. You leave behind your ego system, your old male narrative in your mind, and Thomas Hobbes. You come together in a collective intelligence like the old tribal intelligence. Probably we were human beings, and we lived for thousands of years, decennia, millions, lived as collective tribal thinkers. So if we practice this again, we can come to new innovations, and that we need to change our technology. Because all technology that we have now is very old male narrative. So we need diversity in the thinking, and this culture is very capable of that, because here in Turkey you have extreme innovative parts, women, and extreme old-fashioned cultures. And the old-fashioned cultures has a secret of what it is to be a human. Most modern people in modern society have lost completely the meaning that we want to give the baby. We need a new narrative. We can only make a new narrative if everybody of us reinvent yourself. And you can reinvent in two ways. Go into collective dialogues, reflecting, where do I come from? Do I want that narrative to continue? Do I realize that I always be silent because I think I'm shy? Some people say in the beginning of Socratic dialogue, Humberto, I will not say very much because I'm shy. I then say, stop this assumption. From now on, you will talk the whole day. So you can also kill your assumptions, reinvent yourself, then reinvent in collective labs so that we make reinventing cultural applications. So we came for Women Tech with Zera, we came with a very nice definition. We have to redesign technology on the outlook of it, on gender and equality and parity issues, and exchanging real collective experiences. Is that a nice purpose? Thank you.